I guess I probably should have introduced my dad. This is Ronald Barron. He's my father and my accompaniment. And he's still wearing a mask on stage.
He's allowed to.
Yeah.
Oh, his choice.
Yep, his choice. So I'd like to talk a little bit more now about the party and to clear up any misconceptions that we have. Okay, there we go. For instance, a lot of people call the party racist. And whenever someone says that, I'm like, well, I'd never represent a racist party, so you gotta be more specific. And they say, well, you're multiculturalism. You want to get rid of multiculturalism. I'm like, yeah. Do you know what multiculturalism is? They're like, yeah, it's when you just want to get rid of different people from different cultures. Well, no, that's not what multiculturalism is. It's when you take your culture from another country and you take every bit of it and you try to make our country your country. If you left your country, you left for a reason. So maybe leave those reasons there. So, for instance, the Muslims sometimes practice Sharia law, which in that they kill gay people, women are not treated like men, they have a lot of horrendous human rights violations. So if you come here, bring your Muslim religion, your culture that you live with, but leave Sharia law there. We don't want that here in Canada. And that goes for genital mutilation, all the different, I don't mean to pick on Muslims, that's the only one that seems to come up a lot. But there's a lot out there. And even Christians, some Christians come that are pretty hardcore. They gotta follow the line too. They can't follow their religions. So, yeah, that's what multiculturalism is. And then they say, well, you don't want to have any immigrants here. Like, no, we want immigrants, but we can't take care of the people we have here now. Why would we take in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of more? We want to go back to where it used to be at 150,000 before Trudeau decided we want to take in 350,000. So if we're calling us racist for that, that's like calling Justin Trudeau racist because he didn't take in 500,000. It's just a numbers game. And the people we take, we want to make sure they have jobs or they have skills to get jobs. So they're not just going on assistance. We right now have indigenous communities up north with no fresh, clean water. And we're going to bring in 350,000 more people that don't have jobs? That doesn't make sense. Like, X doesn't equal Y. So it's not racist, it's logical. There's no race anywhere in our policy. Doesn't matter what race you are, as long as you're Canadian, we stand up for you because we believe in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So if it violates that, we have a problem. And this mandate that's coming up, we have a problem. Because that violates your Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Like, if you want to get a vaccine, get a vaccine. If you don't, don't. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. But the moment you tell me I have to get one, now we have a problem. Right? So. And I'm the only party standing up for this. But we got to get the word out. I think this is the most important election in our lifetime. Because I've never seen freedom on the line in any election. I've seen some pretty bonehead policies, but never freedom. Because freedom is what our country is based on. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms is what our soldiers fought and died for. And no, forget that. We don't need that anymore. We want to get everybody vaccinated. No, it's not going to fly, especially kids. I don't think kids should get the vaccine because statistics show that it has little to zero effect on them. You can't say zero because it's statistically not zero, but it's pretty dang close. And usually those kids are sick anyway, and COVID's getting the blame. From what I see anyway, if you look at the CDC website, the statistics are there. They don't try to hide them, they just won't show them to you. The information's there if you want to look and find it. And when you look at it, the average age of death in Canada from COVID, I believe, is 84. I don't know if that is exactly right, but the average death age in Canada is 84. So they're saying people are getting sick and dying, like in my age, 38. Okay, so that can't be very many if the average age is 84. But the average lifespan of Canadians is only 80. So I can't see where they got the justification for a pandemic. The Supreme Court, they never win. But somebody's got to be willing to take it to the Supreme Court. And I guarantee you the other three parties do not have any interest because it violates 4 sections of the Constitution. And Section 52 states that the Constitution or the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is the supreme law of Canada, and any law that is in violation is null and void. So it's written right there. It just has to make it to the Supreme Court. And that's what I plan on doing if I get in. So this mandate may not last that long. I'm going to need everybody's support on this one, though. And I don't know why people trust the government so much now. Last year, nobody trusted the government. This year, everybody trusts the government. Last year's heroes were nurses and doctors. This year, they're zeros because they won't get vaccinated. They've all seen the vaccine. They've all seen the COVID. And they thought it's better to not get it than to get the shot. Like, better not get the shot. It's better to catch COVID. So it kind of scares me a bit when the medical professional that are involved with this won't get on board. That should make everybody question. But the problem is, doctors who stand up get fired, nurses who stand up get fired. But if they all stood up at once, they wouldn't get fired. Everything would change.
That would be nice.
But it's going to be hard because a lot of these people feel like they're in the dark. They're all alone because everybody around them is getting the vaccine and telling them that they should get it. And they're like, no, I don't want it. But they don't have anyone to support them. But that's one thing I learned in this campaign. There's a lot of people that are like-minded that just aren't close together. If we could find a way to get them all close together, we'd have a lot of power. So I'll continue on with the party's platform. Another one is the environment is a tricky one because the media's been brainwashing people for years, telling us all that CO2 is causing the earth to heat up, which if that was true, Mars would be 1,000 degrees because it's 98% CO2, but actually it's below freezing, so I don't know where their logic comes from. But even if you say, okay, Mars is far away, there's no atmosphere, it can't hold heat, okay, I'll buy that. But if you believe the CO2 causes climate change, the only eventuality is genocide. Because once we figure out how to remove all carbon emissions, the only thing left is people. There'll be 10 billion people by then, which means they're going to say, all right, we've eliminated all emissions and the climate's still changing. What do we do now? We got to depopulate. So the next thing is genocide. So to even think about that train of thought, you should be thinking, let's think of anything else. We can use that as a last resort. If everything else fails, we'll go with that one. But that's the first one they picked. There's been 2,056 nuclear weapons tested in the last 70 years all over the world. Nuclear radiation kills all biologicals. Biological things create an environment. The environment drives the climate. So I would investigate the nuclear bombs before I would start looking into CO2. Because they said it only really started to heat up faster in the last 50 years. So how do we know it didn't take 20 years for those bombs to start to catch up, start changing the atmosphere? That's only one theory. I've got 5. Another theory I have is the North Pole. They have magnetic north for your compass. And over the past few generations, magnetic north has shifted from the North Pole to somewhere near Siberia, Russia. And they don't know why it's happening. I have a theory. I worked in mining, and we mined iron ore. We moved 15 million tons of iron ore south. So if you're moving a ferrite material from a magnetic field, shouldn't that change the magnetic field? We're not the only ones doing it. There's lots of mines up north doing it. Russia's doing it, and it's all being shipped south. If you change the magnetic field, you're going to change the environment everywhere in the world. So that's another theory. And then you got the geoengineering, which a lot of people don't even know, and that's literally manipulating the climate. It's when you use airplanes and a chemical that they release into the clouds that will either dissipate or create rain clouds. So they can make it rain, or you can have a rain-free wedding. They did it for the Beijing Olympics, they did it for the royal wedding, they did it for a few different things. So if they're actually manipulating the climate, how come they're not looking at that? That seems like a pretty big one to me. But okay, we'll say maybe that's not it. Maybe manipulating the climate on purpose is not doing it. So then I will we'll look at astrology. Our sun is getting older. Every day it's getting older. Every year it's getting older. What happens to a sun when it gets to the end of its life? Because we live with a dwarf sun. Or at least that's what the astrologists tell us. Dwarf suns go supernovas, which means they get hotter and hotter and hotter until they explode. This doesn't happen instantaneous. It slowly gets hotter.